I'm too old. I'm not good enough. I don't have the right training. What if I fail? Do any of those sound familiar? These thoughts often pop up when we're about to embark on something new. Maybe it's a little bit scary and we're getting cold feet. We might be hesitating to say yes to ourselves because those voices pop up in our head. But here's what I know. The thing that might be standing between you and the creative practice or the creative business that you want is not your age, it's not your talent level, or your tech skills. It's a pile of dusty old beliefs that you've been hauling around like boxes in the attic. They're taking up space where your dreams are supposed to live. Today, we're going to do some spring cleaning. And by the end of this episode, I want you to throw at least one of those lies in the trash where it belongs. Welcome to the Creative Business Spark podcast. I'm LaFollette, creative entrepreneur, online educator, and business coach. After getting laid off in my late 50s, I found myself adrift with no income and no sense of self. But my mom always said, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. So I decided to reinvent myself and build an online creative business from scratch. Now I help women like you do the same. This podcast is where art, mindset, and entrepreneurship meet. I'll share behind-the-scenes lessons, inspiring stories, mindset shifts, and more. Let this be the spark you need to build or grow a creative business with joy and purpose. Let's dive in because it's never too late to create. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here because this episode is all about some spring cleaning that we're going to do in our mindset and some of those cobwebs that we're ready to actually clear away. And before we dig into the 5 things that frequently hold us back, I want to take you back to a moment in my life. Many of you know that I got laid off from my corporate job. It was a corporate job where I was a VP. It was a job that I poured years of my life into. And I got very, very depressed because it came totally out of the blue. I didn't know what to do with myself initially, and I didn't know how to pivot into some type of a next chapter. I tried to get another job, and I was really spiraling. But somewhere in the middle of that fog, my husband suggested that I start playing with some art supplies in the basement. And I had never gone to art school. So even though I doodled in the margin of many of my notebooks during school, or had always wanted to do art, I didn't actually have any background in it. But I knew in my gut that this might open up a totally new chapter for me. And as you know, I discovered surface pattern design. And I realized that this was the thing I really wanted to dive into and master. But there was just one tiny problem. I had never, not once, opened Adobe Illustrator. I didn't have an art degree. I was in my late 50s, and the voice in the back of my head was so loud. It was saying things like, who do you think you are? And don't you think it's a little late for a career reinvention? I almost listened to that voice. I almost let those lies win, but I didn't. And today I run a multiple 6-figure creative business helping women like you do the same thing that I was once terrified to try. So when I tell you I understand those voices, I am not speaking theoretically. I live them, every single one. And I'm going to walk you through all 5 today so that you can recognize them, call them out, and then let them go. Number 1, my art isn't going to be good enough. I'm not a real artist. Let's start with that big one because it's also frequently called imposter syndrome. That sneaky little voice that says other people can do this, but not you. I hear this all the time. because we look at other gorgeous patterns, either on Spoonflower or on Zazzle or on people's websites or online, and we think that those designers were born with some magical gift, that they got fairy dust of some sort that made them be so incredibly talented. And women in my community frequently show me their work almost apologetically, but their work is actually really, really beautiful. Here's what I need you to know. Those designers that you admire, they started with doodles too. Now, clearly, some may be born with some talent, but drawing and also picking color palettes and figuring out the placement of repeating patterns, all of that comes with practice. And we achieve mastery by practicing and getting better every single day. No matter where you're starting from, that's not a sign that you don't belong. That's actually the starting line. And just like learning to walk, it's really important to have encouragement around you so that you can make progress every single day. The other thing that's very important to know is that your repeating patterns do not need to be gallery worthy to actually be successful. Some of the most simple designs are the ones that manufacturers want because they are so versatile. It just needs to be something that has come from you. Here's the second mindset shift I want you to embrace. You're thinking, I'm too old. I should have started this years ago. This one makes me want to stand on a rooftop and actually shout because I do hear this a lot that I wish I'd found surface design 20 years ago. I started my creative business in my late 50s. I was not in my 20s. I was not in my 30s. I was in my late 50s. And after decades in the corporate world, I think I actually had a lot of experience that I was able to lean into to get my business up and running faster. You, I'm sure, have amazing experiences, and they will all apply in some way as you move forward in service pattern design. And I love to support women of all ages in my programs, and so do many of my colleagues. We can do hard things, which is one of my favorite expressions. I've trademarked the expression that I use as my motto, which is it's never too late to create. You've probably also heard that age is just a number. And so I think it's time for us to move away from feeling like it's too late for us. Age is actually not a limitation. It's a library of experiences that you can bring into your work. You have lived through decades of trends. You've decorated homes. You've probably moved several times. You've chosen fabrics or you've redecorated rooms in your house. You've probably noticed patterns and beautiful designs whenever you're traveling. You've also wrapped a million gifts, so you have a visual vocabulary that someone who's much younger doesn't actually have. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. And I mean that with my whole heart. Number three, I'm scared of the tech. I don't think I can keep up. This one is actually personal because this was actually my mindset problem. This was the mindset block that almost stopped me before I even started. I had a corporate job. I used Excel spreadsheets. I did a lot of word processing, but I'd never opened Adobe Illustrator. And when you first open it up, it kind of looks like the NASA control center. There are hundreds of buttons, there are lots of menus and tools, and it definitely can feel very overwhelming. But then I actually opened the program. I had an incredible teacher because I got started with Bonnie Christine. And you know what I discovered? It's that you actually do not need to learn every single tool inside Adobe Illustrator to create repeating patterns. Focus on only about 10% of the tools that are in there that are the key ones you need to create beautiful, sellable patterns. The rest you can just ignore. The technology is not the mountain that you think it is. It's more like a small hill, and we take it one step at a time. And I'm sure that you have climbed much harder things in your life. The women who succeed aren't the ones who are super tech savvy. They're the ones who decided to try anyway. Number four, I didn't go to art school, so I definitely don't have the foundation that I need. I want to be really direct about this one. I didn't go to art school either. And yet here I am running a beautiful business that I absolutely love and creating patterns that I'm selling all of the time. So, art school is wonderful for those who have access to it, but the absence of a formal art education does not disqualify you from being creative. Not even a little. Some of the most original, joyful, vibrant patterns I have ever seen have come from women who never set foot in an art classroom. It's women who learn to draw from inspiration they get from their garden. It's women who developed an eye for color by gardening or by creating quilts over the years. It's also women who've spent entire careers in corporate offices. Maybe they're in banking or nursing or teaching, but you're bringing all of that rich life experience to the table. And the skills that you need for surface pattern design are not locked behind a degree. They can be learned step by step, tool by tool, at any age, from any background. And what you bring to the table, that is something no art school can teach. Your story, your perspective, your eye for beauty that was shaped by decades of living. That is your secret sauce. Now, the fifth lie is, what if I fail? What if people judge me? Okay, I get this last one. Honestly, this is what we frequently can hide behind because it is scary. And maybe underneath that, I'm too old or I'm not good enough or I can't do the tech is something quieter, something more vulnerable. It's that voice that says, what if I put myself out there and it doesn't work? What if people think it's silly that I'm doing this at my age? I understand this fear deeply. When I made the leap from corporate vice president to creative entrepreneur, not everybody in my life understood. Some people thought it was going to be a phase. Others worried I was making a big mistake, or they just figured I wasn't going to be able to succeed. But here's what I've learned. The people who judge you for trying something new are usually the ones who are too afraid to try it themselves. And their judgment says everything about them and their limitations, and it doesn't say anything about you. And listen, let's talk about failure, and let's redefine that right now. In the creative world, failure is just information. It's a pattern that didn't quite work, so you learn from that and you adjust. It might be a color palette that needed to be adjusted slightly. It's all information that helps you move forward and get better. If a design doesn't sell, you learn more about what your audience wants. None of that is failure. As I said, it's all data, and the creative process is working exactly as it should. The only real failure is letting fear make the decision for you. And the only thing you'll regret is that the art you never made because you were worried about what someone else might think. And I don't want that to happen. Here's my spring cleaning challenge for you. I want you to think about which of those 5 lies hit you the hardest today. Which one have you been dragging around the longest? Maybe it's imposter syndrome. Maybe it's the fear of tech. Maybe it's the age thing. Maybe it's all 5 of them, and that's okay. I want you to pick the biggest one and write it down on a piece of paper, and then I want you to throw it away, literally. Crump up the piece of paper and throw it in the trash. Because here's the truth. You deserve a creative life that's full of possibility, not weighed down by old stories. And if you're sitting there thinking, but Anne, you don't understand my situation, trust me, I understand that you're unique. I've been the woman who was terrified of the tech, who didn't have an art degree. I still don't have an art degree, who wondered if I was too late, but I'm standing on the other side telling you that it's worth it. every uncertain, messy, terrifying step of it. And you know my motto, it's never too late to create. And spring is the perfect time to start. If today's episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend, especially that friend who's been talking about wanting to do something creative but keeps putting it off. Sometimes all we need is someone to say, "Hey, I heard this and I thought of you." And if you're ready to take that first step, to draw your first doodle, to learn your first tool, and see what you're capable of, I encourage you to check out Bonnie Christine's Immersion course. It closes very soon, and she only offers it once a year. The link is in the show notes, or you can grab it on my website. Just go to annalafolletteart.com. It's right there on the landing page. Thank you so much for listening. Come find me on Instagram at @LaFolletteArt or head over to my website, annalafolletteart.com. I'm trying to expand the audience for this podcast, and so if you'd be willing to share it with your friends and family, I would really appreciate it. And remember, it's never too late to create. That's it for today, and I'll see you again next week.